What's the actual difference between a $15 pair of leggings and a $150 pair of leggings? Well, my name is Shadi. I'm the co-founder and creative director of FittDesign, the world's first sportswear digital fashion design agency. So without further ado, here is how you can tell apart a $15 pair of leggings from a $50 pair of leggings from a $150 pair of leggings. You can actually design and develop a legging from the fabric, the stitching, the cut, the fit, to match that price point. First, let's look at the entry level, the basic product from Temu, from Shein, from Amazon Basics. This is your $15 to $20 pair of leggings. And ultimately, first and foremost, we're going to look at the area where factories and manufacturers save the biggest amount of dollars, which is going to be in the fabric. Usually with these low-end pair of leggings, you tend to see a lower spandex percentage, and by doing so, you end up with a product that loses its shape, that isn't flattering, and doesn't hug your body like some of the products with higher spandex. Two is going to be the GSM. If you're to look at the GSM, this is the easiest way to save a lot of money for these brands by using a thinner fabric. So GSM, you're looking at between 170 and 200, which is extremely low for a pair of leggings. And then third, when it comes to the fabric, there's what is known as the yarn denier count, which has to do with the thickness of the denier yarns. This is going to end up making it feel plasticky, very rough. Next, we'll look at the construction details of these cheap leggings, and this is where it gets interesting. Usually at this price point, the type of waistband, simply just shove in between the two layers of fabric or the fold over of the waistband, and putting it once or twice in the wash, you'll notice that elastic actually deforms and starts to roll and starts to slip. It doesn't hold its shape in place. Next, you'll have the seams. Normally with high quality leggings, and you'll see we're using a seam that is a 4-needle 6 thread. They're using a 3-needle with a low elastic thread that doesn't have any density or durability to it whatsoever. They're not doing any form of gusset. They're not doing a triangular gusset. They're not doing an H gusset. They're definitely not doing a diamond gusset. So it's one of the easiest ways to cut out some cost, but the disadvantage here is a poor fit, and in general, it's going to be extremely uncomfortable to wear for long periods of time, especially in sportswear. Lastly, you have your fit issues. When it comes to the pattern making aspect of it, which means how the garment is cut, a very generic blocky type fit that has straight edges because they're easier to cut, so there's no curved edges, and this is something that's a major disadvantage. At the same time, they tend to use a one-size-fits-all grading solution. Number two, we have the $50 tier. This is going to be brands like Gymshark, Young LA, Buff Bunny, and some of their entry-level products. And this is where you see a big improvement in the fabric. You usually have a nylon spandex blend of around 20 to 25% spandex for that shape retention effect. At the same time, the GSM is increased here to something that's much more appropriate, around 220 to 230 GSM. Here we tend to see some basic surface treatments like moisture wicking, and you tend to see some of these more basic aesthetic and functional finishes brought to the mix to enhance the overall look and feel of the garment. Construction details. Now we have a doubled up waistband that has a curved cut to it, and they tend to have a fusing or a spandex lining on the inside that allows for more compression and better shape retention on the waistband. In terms of the gusseting, here we tend to see a variety of different gussets, predominantly diamond gussets and triangular gussets. And when it comes to stitching, here we have 4-needle 6-thread stitching that uses a good density of the yarn or thread and a actual elastic thread that stretches and moves with you so it doesn't end up tearing and ripping. When it comes to fit improvements, you tend to see higher quality pattern making techniques and pattern grading techniques. So there's a little bit more complexity in terms of how the design is created in order to fit the user better. And lastly is the $150 pair of leggings. The devil is in the details. So fabrics now are much more proprietary. What's the big advantage of using a proprietary blend? Number one, if you mention a fabric as 78% nylon, 22% spandex, that says one thing. But if you mention this fabric as the Lululemon Nulu fabric that does XYZ, then you're starting to build a story. You're starting to create something that is much more difficult for your competitors to come in and to copy paste. When it comes to the GSM, again, we're looking at between 230 and 240, slightly higher GSM, definitely interlock weft knit textile compositions, which are a doubled up knitting process that creates a much more compact and much more stable knit structure that's very, very great for high intensity interval training. They're gonna apply a double brush finish instead of a single brush finish, and they're going to go for more functional finishes, anti-odor finishes, anti-static finishes, so hydrophilic finishes if you want to go for really moisture wicking fibers and fabrics. They might even treat the yarns directly instead of treating the fabric itself for a more in-depth and a more concrete effect for some of these features. One of those things is actually using a solution yarn dyed treatment so that they are actually dyeing the yarns before they're knitted into the fabric for a deeper, richer, and more consistent color throughout. When it comes to construction details, it's where it gets really interesting. For sure, with all of these garments, you're using high elastic threads that have a nice thickness to them. We tend to see bonded seams here. You tend to see a lot of flat lock seaming all the way throughout. And for the waistband, definitely we're cutting on a curved waistband. We have the side cuts on the side for a more contoured appearance. You tend to have a triple layer waistband with a mesh power lining on the inside for a floating, comfortable finish that just adds that compression to it. You have your gussets that are going to be ergonomically fitted. They're going to be hand-drawn patterns, whether they're oval shaped or whether they're diamond shaped. And then lastly, when it comes to the fit, brands like Lululemon really go out of their way to look at their core customer avatars and to 3D scan their bodies and their pattern making ability to those body types exactly to get the perfect fit. If you're an entrepreneur trying to get into this space, a pro tip if you want to hit the premium price point is you may not have to create your own proprietary blend. You might even consider plugging into brand names and using those brand names and actually tagging your products with those brand names to benefit from the pre-established brand equity that they already have. You can consider adding some of those more premium details like the mesh lining on the inside of the waistband, contouring the waistband for a better fit. So the real question is, are $150 leggings worth it? Well, in some areas they are, in some areas they definitely are not. It depends on the story that you sell around the product and how you can captivate your customer to get them to want and need your product. If you guys are interested in how you can do this in your own business and you want to speak to me one-on-one, I take applications via the link below. You can apply to work with me. My slots are limited, but I'd be more than happy to review your application and to hop on a call with you guys. I say this from the very bottom of my heart. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Fit Design TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.